Hey guys, it's MindGames and welcome back to another League of Legends video. Today I'm going to be talking about the new items that are coming to the preseason. Yesterday I made a video on a lot of the changes that are coming to preseason that do not include the item changes, such as jungle changes, champion changes, and rune changes. Today I thought I would make a video on a lot of the item changes since I got so much support from the last video. I decided to make I'm not going to talk about all the items, but I'm going to talk about some of the important items to look out for. So stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy. But before that, guys, if you guys aren't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. It means so much to me. It's just one click away, and you can always unsubscribe later if you don't like the content that I'm making. Thanks, and let's get to it. So let's get into the starter items. First, we have our Smite items. These are the jungle items that are coming to Season 11. You no longer have to buy Talisman and Hunter's Machete. Now you are going to be buying your red or blue Smite from the beginning of the game, and these items do not upgrade any further. You buy this once, and that is your jungle item for the rest of the game. After you use Smite 5 times, it will consume this item and transfer your Smite into blue Smite or red Smite. So this item will disappear from your inventory after you use Smite 5 times, and it allows you to have space for other items, and you can go right into your build like any other lane in the game. Now let's talk about some of the AP starter items, Dark Seal and Doran's Ring. These items are now completely friendly to champions that do not use mana. As you can see, killing a minion restores 6 mana, but if you can't gain mana, it restores 3 health instead. So champions like Akali or Kennen or Mordekaiser who want AP in their lane, but they don't build it because it gains you mana and you don't really want mana. These champions usually go like Doran's Shield, and they're not really too happy with it. Now you can go Doran's Ring or Dark Seal. So that is a really good quality of life change for those champions. As you can see, Tear of the Goddess is now a starter item in the game. It has a little bit of controversy on the PvE because a lot of people actually don't like building this. So for champions like Ezreal and Ryze and Cassiopeia, in theory, it is a really good item to start on them because they can stack their tier, from the get-go. But the thing with Tear of the Goddess is that even though it allows you to deal extra damage to minions, it gives you absolutely no power in lane whatsoever. Even champions like Ryze, who build Sapphire Crystal first, still prefer to go Sapphire Crystal first because it gives you 250 mana rather than the 150 mana, which allows your abilities to deal more damage, and it gives you more mana overall. Tear of the Goddess is really hard to stack. You cannot stack this item just by throwing out your abilities. You have to hit in a person with an ability in order to stack this item. So even champions like Ezreal, Ryze, Cassiopeia, they prefer to go for the Doran's Ring, Doran's Blade, and Sapphire Crystal than the Tear of the Goddess, and they rather just back later on to start getting the Tear of the Goddess because they want that power in lane. If you are an Ezreal and you start this item, it is a green flag for your opponent to just harass the shit out of you because you can't fight back. You have no AD, you have no HP, you have no sustain in lane. Doran's Blade is getting a really cool change. Instead of giving you lifesteal now, it gives you 2.5% Omni-Vamp, which is really good for champions that use abilities like Aatrox and Akali. Even Akali can build this item, because this is Omni-Vamp and not physical vamp, which means Akali's Q, which does magical damage, can now heal off of this item as well. So something to look out for. Overall, those are the starter items. I haven't mentioned that some of the support items, I don't really know what's going on with them. I think they give you a little bit more gold. It's not going to be that big of a difference. So that's basically all the starter item changes that are coming to preseason. I'm not really going to be talking about the basic items. They almost stayed exactly the same except for Fairy Charm and Cloak of Agility, this one being doubled in its price and double its effects to make it more inventory space compact, and also Cloak of Agility that gives you 15% crit chance. Also, Stopwatch no longer builds into Gargoyle's Stone Flame. That's basically it for the basic items. Onto the epic items. Sheen, as you can see, it costs 700 and it no longer has mana attached to it. So they basically took the Sapphire Crystal out of Sheen, so you can build this on champions that do not use mana, like Garen or Kennen, Akali. I don't know who you would want to build this on, but that's good quality of life change. Another thing with epic items is that Bramble Vest, Executioner's Calling, and Oblivion Orb are the trio grievous wound items in the game. They all cost 800 and they have their own unique way of applying grievous wound. Bramble Vest being if you are getting attacked, Executioner is on physical damage, and Oblivion Orb is on magical damage. These 3 items upgrade further on, but we can talk about that a little bit later. Noon Quiver is a new ADC item. This is your bread and butter ADC item. It costs 1300. You always want to back and get this, and even if you don't back with 1300 gold, you can always buy the components. If you back with 700 or 650, you can buy the components to these items. This is such a good ADC item. If you compare this to BS Sword, which you can't build anything into it, it gives you 40 AD. This one gives you 30 AD, 10 less AD, but it gives you 15% attack speed, and your attacks deal extra physical damage to minions which helps you CS a lot. So this is really good in lane. On top of that, it builds into the 3 ADC mythic items. So you always want to back and get this. This is such a good item to have for any ADC. So let's get into the legendary items. As you can see, Medjai's is basically the same. It builds from Darksteel, but it deserves an award for the cheapest legendary item in the game. Why is that important? Is because mythic items, as you probably already know, mythic passives are a thing. So when you build a mythic item and you build a legendary item, it applies a mythic passive to those legendary items. So for example, Shurelia's, every time you build a legendary items, it gives you movement speed. Let's say Gore Drinker, every time you build a legendary item, it gives you ability haste. So having that cheap legendary items means that you get that mythic passive on top of that. So if you're building maybe let's say Liandry's Anguish, which grants other legendary items 5 ability haste, this is no longer just a regular Medjai's. This is a Medjai's plus a 5 ability haste, which is I mean, it's better than a Medjai's, so that is something to look out for. Staff of Flowing Water is a new support item coming to the game. It's basically exactly the same as Ardent Censer in stats. However, instead of giving you attack speed and on hit, it now gives you movement speed and ability power. So if you are playing bot lane, you're playing Nami, and you're playing with an AP champion like Lux or Syndra or Swain, you can now give them a movement speed and ability power rather than giving them the useless, attack speed and on hit that they don't really need. Now let's talk about Ginsu's Rage Blade. This is the best legendary item in the game, in my opinion. It is your core. It is your second mythic item in the game. It is so powerful, and so many people need this item. You need to look out for this item. Why do they need to look out for this item? It's because it is an item that converts your crit into on hit. It builds from this item called Rage Knife, which is basically exactly it's like a smaller version of it, but it does the same thing. It converts your critical strike chance into on hit. So if you're playing someone like Kog'Maw or Master Yi who do not want critical strike, instead they want on hit, this is an item you build. It gives you attack speed, a crit chance, but it converts that crit chance into on hit, and also it has the old Rage Blade effect, except it doesn't need a ramp up at all. Every third attack applies your on hit twice. So if you have a lot of on hit, every third attack is going to be dealing a lot of damage. And on top of that, on hit is getting reworked in the new season so that it applies lifesteal as well. So if you're building a lifesteal item like Bloodthirster, which by the way has crit damage, Bloodthirster plus Ginsu's, it converts the critical strike chance from the Bloodthirster into on hit, and on top of that, it applies the lifesteal on top of that. Now let's go back to some of those Grievous Wounds items that I was talking about. Let's start looking at Bramble Vest, 800 instead of 1000. It only builds into Thornmail, sadly, but after you build these Grievous Wounds items into its full completed item, it has another effect on top. So for Thornmail, if you immobilize a champion, you apply 60% Grievous Wounds rather than 40% Grievous Wounds. Let's look at Executioner's Calling, which upgrades into the ADC version, which is Mortal Reminder. Mortal Reminder also gives you 40% Grievous Wounds, but also if you attack someone 3 times in a row, it gives you 60% Grievous Wounds on them, which is really good. Chem Punk Chainsword is basically the bruiser typed Grievous Wounds item. It gives you HP instead of that crit and whatever else it gives you. It gives you 40% Grievous Wounds, but if the target is below 50% HP, it turns into 60% Grievous Wounds. Oblivion Orb upgrades into Morellonomicon, like the Kempunk Chainsword. Also, if they are below 50% HP, it increases to 60% Grievous Wounds. And there's also another item that upgrades from Oblivion Orb, and that is Chemtech Putrefier. This is basically the support item, Grievous Wounds, for AP supports. So if you're AP support, it gives you ability power, ability haste, and base mana regen. Honestly, the stats are really bad, but it is a really cheap item. So if you want to upgrade it into a support item, and on top of that, it gives you 40% Grievous Wounds, but if you immobilize a champion, it turns into 60% Grievous Wounds. So if you're playing like Nami or I don't know, Lux support, you can buy this item. It's cheap and it gives you Grievous Wounds. Ravenous Hydra is a very powerful AD item that's coming to the new season. It is basically completely reworked. It gives you attack damage, it gives you ability haste now, but it also gives you 15% Omni Vamp. I don't know why they did this. It should have been physical vamp. I don't know why they did Omni Vamp. It is so powerful. Any item in the new season basically that has 15% Omni Vamp is really strong. And it still has the Tiamat ability, but the Tiamat ability is a little bit different. Instead of dealing damage around you, any enemy that you hit, they will deal damage around themselves. So if you hit 3 people with one ability, and yes, Tiamat does apply on abilities, if you hit 3 people with one ability, they will all deal damage around them. So I'm going to show you what I mean. I'm going to buy Tiamat, and I'm playing Jace right now, and I'm going to spawn 3 dummies right here, and I'm gonna queue. I queued 2 people, as you saw, but both those people had the circle around them. So I'm gonna do it again. So both of them had it because I hit both of them. And if I'm hitting like 3 people, then there's going to be a 3 circle, and they all Omni Vamp off each other, which means they're getting even more HP. So this item is really good. Demonic Embrace is a new AP item coming to League of Legends. It gives you AP and health, and dealing ability damage burns enemies for 1.5% of their maximum health, basically like old Liandry's. Except you also gain armor and magic resist while someone is burning, and you gain even more armor and magic resist for each additional champion that is burning. So you can get up to 20 armor and magic resist if you're affecting the entire enemy team. Cosmic Drive is also another AP item coming to League of Legends. It gives you AP, a little bit less HP than the item that I just talked about, but it gives you 30 ability haste. This gives you so much ability haste, and dealing damage with abilities grants you movement speed for a couple of seconds. This is a really good item. If you want to go for that fun, full ability haste kind of build, then you would build Cosmic Drive along with Liandry's, because Liandry's gives you 20 ability haste and grants your other legendary items ability haste. So this gives you a ton of ability haste, but this item does not give you the most ability haste in the game. That's right, there is another item that gives you even more ability haste, and that is this item right here. It's called Stirring Wardstone. Basically, when you buy it at your first level, you can only buy this at level 13. This starts off as an epic item. I'm just gonna get myself to level 13 right now, and then you can now buy this item. And basically what it does when you first buy this item, it allows you to store 3 control wards. Once you place 20 stealth wards, which is actually really hard to do unless you are support, so I'm just gonna start placing stealth wards. As you can see, it gives you a timer for 20. I'm gonna place wards until I place 20 wards, which by the time you're level 13 and you're placing wards constantly, you're only going to reach like 10 or something, or 12. So it's actually a pretty hard condition to reach unless you are a support. And if you do get the support item, you can just spam wards in your base, and then they'll automatically refresh. So you don't have to worry about that. So now that it upgraded, it gives you 25 ability haste. And then on top of that, you can Phi to upgrade it another time to give you 40 ability haste and 10% movement speed. And so this is a really good item for champions like any support, basically any support that wants to use ability haste. It's very cheap and it's upgraded by you placing wards. So it's basically only good for supports because only they can have access to this item. And it allows you to store 3 control wards, which is really useful. Honestly, you can completely sell your it'd be good to completely sell your support item and buy this instead, because if you think about it, your support item at its maximum stacks only gives you a couple of wards. Control wards are better than regular wards, so instead of having a bunch of wards, you now have a bunch of control wards, and you can still go sweeper or you can go oracle. You can do whatever you want, but having control wards, having 3 control wards is better than having 4 stealth wards in the late game. So now that most of the legendary items I talked about are out of the way, I can talk about a bunch of the weird legendary items in the game. First things first, we have Cyrilda's Grudge, which is basically the Rallies for 80 champions. Another weird item is Horizon Focus. This item is terrible, as I said in my previous videos. It only gives you 100 AP, which is actually a lot compared to a lot of the other AP items in the game. Damaging a champion with a non-targeted ability over 750 range or immobilizing them reveals them and increases your damage to them by 10% for 6 seconds. That's a mouthful. Gargoyle Stone Plates, as I said, no longer builds from stopwatch. The very interesting about this is that instead of giving you a damage reduction, it now gives you a shield, a really big ass shield, and this scales with 100% of your bonus health, which means, for example, right now, do I have any bonus health? I think I might have like bonus health from my runes or something, right? Because this item doesn't give me health. Oh no, it gives you a 100 plus bonus health. So for example, if I buy something like Warmox, which gives me 800 HP, this will now give me 900 bonus shield. So that's how big it would be. And if I buy like more Warmox, wait, can I not buy more Warmox? Wait, what? You can't stack items anymore? I didn't know that. The Collector, a very interesting item. It is an ADC item. Well, I say it's an ADC item, but I only say that because it's a crit item. Who in the right minds made a crit lethality item? This is a terrible idea. Dealing damage that would leave an enemy below 5% HP, completely execute them. Just basically Elder Buff executes them at 5% HP, and kills grants you an extra 25 gold. So it's basically allows you to pop off and snowball really hard. And if you're a champion that, you know, rely on your entire kit to kill someone, you kill someone really slowly with auto attacks in between. I'm thinking of LeBlanc, but LeBlanc's an AP champion. Basically, this is a really good item for those champions. Serpent's Fang is a lethality item coming to League of Legends. It's a weird ass item. It basically gives you attack damage to lethality, and attack to spells deal bonus damage to shielded targets. That's it. It deals bonus damage to shielded targets. So I'm going to quickly go over some of the mythic items. Shurelia's basically the same thing, gives you your whole team a movement speed buff, but on top of that, it gives you them extra damage on their next attack. Locka of the Iron Solari is basically the exactly same thing, except it has a passive that gives everyone around you armor and magic resist on all time. This item, I don't really know what it does. It's a support item that after you immobilize or slow your ally deals bonus damage. Moonstone Renewer, this item is kind of bugged. I don't know if they should release this item already. It's basically a Conqueror healing. You heal your ally, but the longer you're in combat, the more you heal your ally, and it's a constant passive healing. You don't have to activate anything. Sunfire Aegis is basically Sunfire Cape on steroids. The more you're around somebody, the more damage it does, and at max stacks, your attacks bleed for the MLA damage that it does. Hextech Rock Belt, basically the exact same thing as Protobelt. Riftmaker is an Omnivamp AP item. It's basically like the Rod of Age. If you want to build Rod of Ages, you probably want to go this item. For every second in combat, you deal bonus damage, and at max stack, that bonus damage is converted into true damage. Night Harvester is an AP item that is really good for Fiddlesticks or Cannon. Basically, on every unique champion, they have like an orb above their head, and you can proc that orb with any damaging ability to deal bonus damage to them, and that orb has a 40-second cooldown per champion. Frostfire Gauntlet is basically Ironborn Gauntlet, Iceborn Gauntlet that it used to do, except it applies not just on hit, it applies for any ability that you cast. Turbo Chemtank is basically Righteous Glory. Duskblade Drakar is basically the same item, except after you kill someone, you go invisible for 1.5 seconds. Eclipse is a attack damage Omnivamp item that also has lethality, and anytime you hit anyone with 2 separate attacks or abilities within 1.5 seconds, gives you extra damage towards them, gives you a movement speed, and gives you a shield, and is on a 6-second cooldown for melee champions. Prowler's Claw is a lethality item that allows you to dash through a target. It's an active, so if you're playing Lee Sin, you can dash through a target and then you kick your team backwards. Gourd Drinker is basically a bruiser item that gives you a Tiamat active. If you use it around enemy champions, for every champion you hit, you heal back a ton of HP. Stridebreaker is also kind of like Gourd Drinker, as I said. It gives you a Tiamat active, but it slows instead, and it gives you a little bit of dash on top of it. Divine Thunder is a bruiser item that it gives you like a sheen effect that is very good against tanks. Triforce is basically the same item. Leandri's Anguish is basically the same thing, except instead of giving you HP, it gives you mana and ability haste, and on top of dealing percent health magic damage, it also shreds your opponent's magic resistance. Oh wait, no, it gives you extra magic penetration. Luden's Tempest is basically the same thing as Luden's Echo, except it gives you an extra movement speed on top of it. Everfrost is an AP item that is kind of replacing GLP. It cones slow, and people in the middle are rooted. Gale Force, I'm sure you already know this item. It is an ADC item that gives you a little dash and a little bit of damage on top. And the Kraken Slayer is an ADC item that every third attack deals bonus true damage. And Immortal Shieldbow is an ADC item that gives you lifesteal, and it gives you a PD passive, so that if the PD passive triggers, it gives you an additional lifesteal. And that's my time for the PvE. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks. Peace out.